Hey, what's going on, guys? Shane here, back with another segment where I open up and answer my DMs. Got a lot of interesting questions today, from how to overcome that deer in headlights feeling when someone's screaming in your face to how to fight a taller opponent. So let's take a look at the first question. All right, I chose this question here to start off because it's a very powerful one, it's a very eye-opening one, and it's going to sort of set the stage for the rest of the questions. I'm going to continue to talk about balance today. Balance literally, but also in martial arts and in your training. So let's get right to the first question. He says, Shane, I got beat up in a street fight yesterday. I've been training kickboxing for 5 years and I'm good in training. But yesterday I was so scared I didn't even speak and the guy was just shouting in my face. I feel weird, man. Even in training now, it's like I lost my confidence. I want your advice because you've always motivated me to train and helped me learn new techniques. Now, before I go and answer this question here, I want to talk about real quick. I was training yesterday with self-defense expert Tony Blauer, and we talked about this exact same thing here. What he was saying is most martial artists and coaches and self-defense experts focus on the fighting part, just the actual physical altercation, but they don't train the stuff leading up to it. Now, he splits it up into 3 different categories: D1, D2, and D3. D3 is defend. That's the fight there. But leading up to that, D1 is detect. Detect any unusual activity or threats in your area before they come up and approach you. D2 is de-escalate. Be able to talk your way out of it, or be able to see signs that a punch is about to be thrown so that you're ready to D3, defend. But if you're only focusing on D3, if you're only focusing on the fight, then stuff like this is going to happen. When someone comes up and is screaming in your face and they catch you off guard and then your adrenaline is pumping, the fear of the unknown. I don't know if this guy's screaming is a trained martial artist, or if he has a knife, or if he's got buddies around that are going to jump in, right? So if you are overwhelmed in that moment and you are have only been training D3 and your fight, then you're not going to be prepared in that situation. In sport competition, we don't have to worry about that because we'll walk to the ring, there's a ref in between us until the bell rings, and then it says hands up at all times, and we know that the fight is about to start. In a street self-defense situation, there's sucker punches, you can get ambushed, you never know when the fight is actually going to begin. So you can absolutely get caught off guard. So again, balance in understanding that it's not just the physical training, but it's also this up here. So I said, great question, buddy. I'd love to share this one, as I think it would open a lot of people's eyes to the difference between sport fighting and street fighting. I just got done training with self-defense expert Tony Blauer, and we talked about the stages leading up to a fight. Everyone trains the fighting part, meaning the technique, the heavy bag, the sparring, but rarely do we train awareness and de-escalation, D1 and D2. You know, how to see a threat before it happens and how to stay calm when someone is screaming in your face. And there is specific drills that you can do to get more comfortable in that situation. Like, yes, have someone scream in your face. I went on to say, you're not alone, my man. Take this as a lesson and remember how you felt that day. He caught you off guard, he overwhelmed your senses, and he took advantage of your adrenaline rush. But you can't let someone else put doubts in your head. And that's ultimately what it is. And this is similar to what Conor McGregor does to Jose Aldo and to all his opponents, right? Before the fight, leading up to it, months ahead. Social media and face-to-face, he gets up and close and he's screaming and he tells them how they're going to lose now. He's going to be victorious. And then those thoughts, those doubts start to manifest and they start to believe those things. But if you can remember in the moment that this person is trying to do just that, they're trying to manipulate me, they're trying to take advantage of me, remember that that person is human just like you are, then you're one step ahead of them. So again, it's not just about training the fighting part for martial arts, it's also the steps leading up to it. All right, so this next one here, where is it? Here we go. Hi, bro, is Aikido useless for a street fight? Now, I chose this question because it sort of piggybacks off the previous one. You could replace Aikido with any martial art in there, right? It could be Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, Kung Fu. It doesn't matter. I get this question all the time. People say, is it useless? Is it good for a street fight? And the answer is still what I said in the previous one, right? It depends leading up to a fight. None of those are really going to help. It's once you get to D3, is this actually going to help? So let's say we're in the D3 stage here. This is what I said. So this is a tough question to answer since I've never formally trained in Aikido. I have, however, studied other combat sports as well as obsessed over street self-defense. There are tons of scenarios where a street fight could take place, from a public bus to a flight of stairs. I would say that those 2 situations wouldn't be the best for Aikido. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. I said having been trained in any martial art is going to help in some way, whether it's balance, strength, accuracy, joint manipulation. You're going to have the edge over someone who hasn't trained, right? Although I wouldn't say Aikido is the ideal art to study, I also wouldn't say that it's useless. Now, when people ask, what's the best art for fighting in a street fight? I can't help but answer, well, it depends, because it depends on the situation, where you're fighting, who you're fighting. Is the other person a stand-up fighter? Are they a grappler? If they're a grappler and you're only versed in boxing and they take you down, then yeah, you're screwed, right? So this is why I always say, have the mentality of a Kravist, of a Krav Maga fighter, but the skill set of a mixed martial artist. So this way you're well balanced. It doesn't matter who you're fighting or what happens, if it goes to the ground, if it stays standing, you know how to fight in all different scenarios. But have the mentality of, this is a street fight and this person's trying to kill me. There are no rules. I need to remember headbutts. I need to remember to bite, to gouge the eyes. And of course, you have to stay calm in a situation to be able to remember all of the legal repercussions that come with a street fight, right? So avoid it at all costs, because if you end up hurting someone, you have to deal with that either legally or ethically in your conscience. And again, my answer is balance. Staying balanced in your training to understand how to fight standing up, on the ground grappling, how to avoid the fight. Make sure you're balanced. All right, next question is from a guy named Shane. Asking Shane. He says, hey Shane, quick question. How often should I be training martial arts weekly? And I said, hey Shane, good name. I said, it depends on your goals, really. I personally like to train every day, but it's my career and obsession. But as a beginner, I was only training 2 to 3 times a week. That's how often I could make it in. At home, I was still doing shadowboxing and running, but I was making it to a gym 2 to 3 times a week. And I said, the more often you train, the sooner you will improve. It's a simple formula. I mean, think about it again. I always use the metaphor with an instrument. The more times I pick up my guitar and play, or I pick up my violin and play, the sooner I'm going to get good at it and the better I will be. It's the same thing with martial arts. The more you do it, the more you practice, the more you get your butt into the gym and train, the sooner you will become better. All right, so here's a question here that's worded very interestingly, and I think what he's asking is, how do I form strategies when I'm sparring or competing? So he says, hey Shane, during a fight, how do you remember which techniques or combos would work? He says, say for instance, one combo doesn't work, and you see that, how do you already know a plan B of what will? And what I said to him is, this is a good question to ask, because it shows that you're ready to take that next step into competition, that you're starting to think like a fighter. So I said, hey buddy, this question here shows that you are looking to improve from beginner to novice, and you're ready to enter the competition world. Having set combos are good for fitness and muscle memory, but like you said, what if it doesn't work? Now, you need to start studying strategies, patterns, and tendencies. For example, if every time you throw a low kick, your opponent checks, then you know where their weight is heavy on the rear leg. Now you can fake the low kick, step, and then attack the support leg. So what I'm getting at here is, once you start to see tendencies and patterns from your opponent, that's when you can start to take advantage of them. That's when you can manipulate them. Let's say every time you throw a jab, their favorite way to block that is to parry with their hand and bring it out here. Well, if they're blocking every one of your straight punches like this, what's now open? Now you start to form strategies here. Now you're going to throw a left hook to go around that guard. So I'm going to fake the jab and throw the hook instead. So this is where fakes and feints are super important. This is where you're starting to understand it's not just about a set combo that I practice on the heavy bag from Shane's combo of the week. Those are good. Those, like I said, that's good for mastering the fundamentals and the movements. It's good to build it up in your muscle memory, so right after you block a punch, you know to counter with a cross hook low kick, and it just goes because you've repped it out 10,000 times. But watch fighters like Sanchai. You know, these are guys with super high fight IQ because they manipulate their opponent. They try things, and when they don't work, they adjust and they do things different. And then they start to manipulate their opponent. I mean, it could be even reversed too. Let's say your opponent keeps landing a jab, and then they're really confident in their jab, and they think that every time they throw it, they're going to land it. And then that's when you start to take advantage of that too, and then you start to counter that jab. Maybe you parry it and throw a low kick, or you start slipping, and then they have to adjust to you. So always try to be 2 steps ahead of your opponent. Always try to look for patterns so that you can take advantage of and manipulate. And I'm pretty sure that's what I closed with. I said, use what is available, utilize fakes and feints, and mess with your opponent. Take note of patterns and capitalize on their weak areas. And that's really all it comes down to, is utilize your strengths, the ones that work, keep using them, look for their weak spots, and take advantage of them. All right, this next question here comes from someone who sounds like they are sparring and competing more often. She says, hi Shane, I hope you don't mind. I was wondering if you have any fighting tips for me when it comes to having a much taller opponent in kickboxing. So I said, hey Annie, what I tend to use and teach is, number 1, utilizing agile footwork in and out, side to side, and creating angles. So right off the bat, make sure you're utilizing your footwork. If this person is bigger than you, they're taller than you, then you need to be a moving target. You need to come in at different angles. You can't just stand there in one spot, because they're going to keep you at the end of their kicks, the end of their punches, and they're just going to start laying into you. So move around, be a moving target, and come attack at different angles. Number 2, use your fakes and feints to get your opponent to flinch. We just talked about this one, the importance of it. If we start faking shots and we see them defend certain ways, or they start to blink and cover up, that's how we can really take advantage. So if you're combining the good footwork, agile, in and out, side to side, coming in at different angles, and then you start utilizing fakes and feints with your hands, with your feet, with your hips, now they're going to be on the back pedal. They're going to be anxious and ready for what you have to throw at them, and you're kind of taking lead in the dance. And then number 3, favor your speed and blitzing in with shots. So again, we're agile, we're moving around. We didn't really say speed just yet, but that's also what you want to do. Is you want to be quick with your feints, quick with your footwork, and then once you actually commit to a shot, you want to be in before they can realize that you're even coming in. Blitz them with a couple of shots, 1, 3, 5, and then create an angle off so they can't hit you with the counter. Number 4 is understand each other's range and don't stay at the end of their punches and kicks. Again, I talked about this in the beginning one with the footwork, but it's the same thing. Even after you finish your combos, don't just step straight out and be at the end of their punches, because if they decide to counter with a high kick or round kick and you're just right there at the end of their kick, you're going to get caught. Even if you block it, someone bigger, more leverage, it's going to do damage. Number 5, chop them down like a tree. If they're taller than you, take out the base. Kick the legs out, all right? You can go inside, you can go outside, you can throw hands and finish with low kicks. Chop down on the legs, take away from their mobility, soften up their legs, and then continue through with number 6, the overhand or left. If you're southpaw, works great around the guard. Keep them off balance, moving and guessing. Hope this helps. But the overhand right is one that I've always used against taller opponents based on watching footage from the shorter guys landing it on the taller guys. So it's coming usually over top of the jab shoulder, right, their lead shoulder. Very often we'll throw the jab and we can just dip our head out to the left, come over top with an overhand right. If we're southpaw, we dip our head to the right, come over top with the left. But it comes around the guard. It's a looping shot. It's hard to defend. We can often catch our taller opponent with the overhand. Here's one here from Tyler. He says, if you were offered a UFC contract right now, would you take it? And I got to say my initial answer right off the bat is just a no. And again, it comes down to balance. So I said, I'd be honored. I really would, but no, probably not. And here's why. Number 1, fighting at that level is a full-time gig. Not only just the training, hours in the gym, it's marketing, it's media, it's travel, it's doing podcasts, it's finding sponsorships, it's all of that. I said I wouldn't be able to keep up with fight tips the way I do now. That's already taking up most of my time. My wife already yells at me for being on my phone answering your comments all the time. So if I then was training on top of that, no, I wouldn't be able to do both. And my passion really is in fight tips and helping you guys. I said, and number 2, coaching and fighting are 2 different skill sets. Even though I used to compete, my passion lies within coaching others. I said I'll be in the UFC cage someday, but I don't think I'll be the one fighting. Maybe I'll be in there with Vince the Anomaly once he gets in there, steps up against the champs in there. I'll be in Vince's corner. All right, I got 2 questions here. I'll read them both, but they're pretty much the same thing. Asking weights and Muay Thai. How do I split that up weekly so that it's evenly distributed? So the first one is I've been training Muay Thai and lifting weights in the gym on and off for a few years, but never at the same time. Of long periods where it's purely weight, long periods where it's purely Muay Thai. My question is, how can I combine them both effectively? I like to carry a good amount of muscle, not loads. Think Tom Hardy in the film Warrior. But I also want to be quick, agile, and flexible in the ring. And the second one is, my question is, I'm already pretty fit. I'm a 31-year-old fitness trainer and nutritionist, but without any experience in martial arts. Recently, I'm more and more interested in learning Muay Thai. Not to compete, but definitely not to be sloppy either. My question is, what strength split would you recommend if I want to focus on both things equally, strength training and Muay Thai? I saw you training back and buys, chest and tries, legs and shoulders. I want to strength train 3 times a week and Muay Thai 3 to 4 times a week. Rest on Sunday. Any recommendations? And I pretty much just said to both these guys that, again, it's all about balance. Think about it like this. If you're doing 99% of your time and energy on weight training and 1% of your time on Muay Thai, what are you going to be best at? You're going to be much better at lifting weights. You're going to be much stronger and more focused on your aesthetics probably. And then your Muay Thai, you're going to be very slow in your improvement. Whereas vice versa, if you did 99% of Muay Thai and 1% of strength training, then you're going to be really good at Muay Thai, but you're not going to be able to do heavy deadlifts or squats or something like that. The more you spend your time on the specific routine that you're looking to or skill that you're looking to improve on, again, it's like the metaphor with the instrument. So what I said was, you already answered your question. If you want to focus on strength training and Muay Thai equally, the word equally, then you need to split it 50-50. Your breakdown is pretty much what I was doing, although I would switch it up every few weeks, sometimes split weights and fight training in the same day. You may also want to add in some sort of recovery regimen, stretching, massage, ice bath, cryo, foam rolling, because Muay Thai after heavy squats is no fun, and that's one thing that I really ran into. I was trying to do both. In fact, now I really wanted to get bigger legs, but I also want to get really high kicks. But if I'm doing deadlifts and squats, the next day, my legs do not want to go up that high, so I have to find a balance. Maybe I do a little bit less reps or a little bit less weight, and then this way I can actually do my kicks. And to the previous question, I said my answer is balance. Again, I said if you train 99% weights, 1% Muay Thai, you'll gain size and strength, but your fight technique will only improve slightly. Opposite for the vice versa. I would say if you want to gain size, then you have to prioritize weights and diet, of course, but maybe a weekly routine would look like 4 days of weights, 2 days of Muay Thai, and 1 day of rest. All right, another question about bullying. It says, hi Shane, I have a bully and I'm afraid to punch because I'm afraid he will destroy me and I will lose and everyone will laugh at me. Can you please give me a tip because I tried everything that you said in the video about bullying and he just ignores it. Please help me. So what I said right off the bat is, have you notified a teacher, parent, or principal about your bully? And this is still always the first thing that I recommend to anyone in school that is being bullied, because let's just say worst case scenario happens and you do get into a fist fight with this person. And even if you win that fight, you want it to be documented on record that you went to a principal, you told them the situation about how you were the victim being bullied, and you tried to stop it the correct way. If they didn't do their job, the teachers, and it escalated to where that bully approached you and attacked you and you defended yourself, you just want that, again, to be documented that you did the right thing. So I said, has he physically harmed you? Has he hit you? I still recommend talking to your bully and saying something like, look, I know you don't like me, but your bullying has to stop. We don't have to be friends, just don't bully me. And use the B word, use the word bully. Bring that to their attention that they're actually being a bully. They may not even realize it. I said, otherwise, just try to avoid that bully. Just try your best, walk the opposite way, stay away from them in school. One way I used to avoid bullies in school was by becoming a competitive fighter in Muay Thai. I used to have my sweaty boxing gloves hanging on the outside of my school bag, and everyone knew Shane was a fighter. He competed, and why would anyone, some people may say, yeah, but I want to challenge him, if he thinks he's such a big fighter, but I never had that problem. And even if I would say, yeah, come by to my gym, we can put mouthpiece in, 16-ounce gloves on, and we could have a ref there and we could see who the better person is. 9 out of 10 times they're not going to show up. Everyone knew I fought, so no one ever challenged me. I said to the guy, have you ever considered taking up martial arts? Now, I don't want to go and tell this person how to handle it, if they should or shouldn't throw the first punch, because my morals are different, laws, the way that person's parents brought them up, it's not my place to tell anyone to throw the first punch. That's something that each individual person needs to think about and decide on their own. All right, and this question here, it's a tricky one. It's a tough one to answer. He says, hey Shane, I've been interested in training martial arts for 3 years now. I've sparred, I've got a feel for it, but I have a huge problem. The problem is my coach. And there's only one MMA gym where I live. I feel like he's very aggressive and delusional, and I can't trust him. Of course, I want to compete, but I feel like he's stopping me from doing that because I can't stand him or trust him. So again, tricky situation. He's only got access to one gym and one coach, but he doesn't trust the guy. So I said, hey man, let's see if I can help, because this is a tricky question. Seeing as how your coach is the only one in the area, it may be best to make do with what you have. I said, after all, you never mentioned what he teaches is bad information. And I'm curious, have you done your research on this guy? Does he have successful fighters? Has he fought himself? Do your research and figure out if he's actually a bad coach or if he's just grumpy. If he's great, a lot of coaches are grumpy. So you can't really knock a coach and say he's a bad coach if he's just not nice to be around, right? That's going to happen. You kind of have to deal with that. So I said, maybe he's just stressed and overworked. offer to take him out for a coffee and learn more about him. Ask if he needs an assistant instructor. If this doesn't work, you may want to continue training there, but do your research to see if there's any other local gyms that are opening up soon. But don't give up. Because there are such things as bad coaches. I'm not 100% defending your coach and saying that he's, you're overthinking it. There are bad coaches out there, but those aren't the qualities that I would describe a bad coach. A bad coach, I would say, is someone who puts you in an unsafe environment or puts you into a fight when you're not ready, or is one of those stupid coaches that lines you up against the wall and punches you in the face for 20 seconds because they're helping condition your brain. But if it's someone who knows what they're talking about and they're just kind of short with you, like I said, he may just be a little stressed and overworked. So try getting on his good side. Try learning more about him before you go to judge and move on or stop training martial arts completely. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions yourself, hit me up on Instagram at Shane Faison. I try to dedicate a couple of hours so that I can answer as many questions as possible, and then maybe you'll get featured on a video like this. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. I'm Shane with Fight Tips for the Underdogs.